Gurus are lying to you. You've probably heard all the basic study advice before: spaced repetition, active recall, and Pomodoro technique. Stuff that every productivity guru is shouting about online. But let's be honest, when you actually try it, it's confusing, overwhelming, and sometimes they don't even work. That's why I decided to go way deeper. I spent days digging into over 10 research papers, scientific studies that most people have never even heard of. They are advanced strategies backed by science that will actually make you learn 10x faster. And by the end, you will have a blueprint to completely transform how you study. I will even give you a free guide that lays all out for you. No fluff, no wasted time, just pure results. You've probably tried all sorts of study hacks that promise instant results, highlighting, cramming, or even binging fancy productivity apps. But let me tell you a little secret. The stuff that really works is not that flashy. And the truth is that the boring techniques like reviewing notes, spaced repetition, or handwritten summaries are the real game changers. Why? Because they are backed by neuroscience. But what if I told you there's actually a way to make those boring techniques 10x more effective without even changing them at all? So let's break it down. Here's the key: deliberate distractions. Research shows that interrupting your focus strategically for just 2 minutes actually boosts how much your brain retains. Why? Because your brain isn't a machine that powers through constant strain. It thrives on rhythms like short bursts of focus followed by intentional resets. And here's exactly how you can do it. Set a timer for 20 minutes. Once it rings, stand up, walk to the other side of the room, and say three key points that you've just studied out loud. This tiny action disrupts the monotony and helps you lock in what you've just learned. Most people overlook this because it sounds too simple. But trust me, this one tweak can completely transform your study sessions, and we're just getting started. Forget everything you know about study blocks. There is a way more effective way to learn faster and retain way more. Research has proven that breaking your study time into four distinct phases is the game changer that you need. Phase number one: prime your brain for 5 minutes. Before diving into the material, you need to prime your brain. This means setting the stage by activating your brain's neural pathways. And studies show that a simple 5-minute video or article related to your study topic can boost comprehension by up to 47%. Phase number two: study sprints for 20 minutes. Now it's time to study, but here's the twist: forget taking notes. Start writing questions instead. Why? Because your brain learns by solving problems, not just by copying down information. And when you write questions based on the material, you're actively engaging with the content and you're training your brain to recall and retain that information that you've learned. Phase number three: micro recall for 2 minutes. Close your book. Now try to summarize everything you've just studied out loud in under 2 minutes. You will be amazed at how this forces your brain to work harder, and that reinforces the material in your long term memory. Phase number four is the anchor, and it's done for a minute. Right after your study session, write down one key takeaway and how you will apply it. Research shows that tying new knowledge to a personal goal increases retention by up to 63%. This is the secret to locking the material into your long term memory. So apply these four phases and you will start noticing real, measurable improvements in how fast and effective that you learn. This blew my mind. I came across a paper from Stanford that revealed a technique called the memory trigger stack. And trust me, it's a game changer. Here's how it works. Pick a key concept you've just learned. Link it to something you already know. It could be a funny story, a vivid image, or even a personal experience. Then stack two unrelated triggers on top, a sound and a movement. Let me give you This isn't your typical space repetition. We are talking about the 33 rule, and let me tell you, it takes learning and retention to a whole new level. Let me break it down for you based on the research. First, dedicate 30 minutes to studying a topic deeply. Don't rush through it, absorb as much as you can. Right after that, immediately reinforce that learning by reviewing it in 3-minute bursts throughout the day. These micro reviews are spaced perfectly to hack your brain's natural forgetting curve. And here's the key. Your brain tends to forget things over time, but by repeatedly revisiting the material in these short intervals, you're making sure it sticks. Here's the problem with how most people teach active recall. They tell you to test yourself, but they skip the most critical part, which is error analysis. If you're just testing yourself without diving into your mistakes, you're missing out on some powerful learning opportunities. Research from 2020 revealed this major flaw and introduced something called error mapping. And trust me, it changed everything. Let me break it down for you. When you test yourself, you don't just move on after the test. Write down every mistake that you make, every single one. It doesn't matter how small it is, jot it down. But here is where the magic happens. Instead of just leaving those mistakes sitting there, categorize them. Ask yourself, was it a lack of understanding or was it a careless mistake? Or did I forget something completely? And this step is crucial because it forces you to understand the root cause of each mistake. And that's where the real learning begins. Now, the next step is where the real power lies. Spend 80% of your next study session diving into those specific gaps, not just mindlessly going through the material again. No, you focus all your energy on closing those gaps. And this is the moment where you're actively retraining your brain to fill in those weak spots rather than just passively reviewing what you already know. You've probably had those moments when no matter how hard you try, the material just won't stick. You're sitting there staring at your notes, rereading the same page over and over, but it feels like you're hitting a wall. And it's so frustrating, right? Well, let me tell you, there is a game changing technique called the heart reset that completely flips the situation on its head. And here's the thing, research shows that if you're stuck in a mental fog, switching it to an entirely unrelated activity for just 5 minutes can increase your ability to absorb new information by up to 37%. That's not a typo. You can literally improve your focus and learning capacity by nearly 40% in a matter of minutes. And let me explain how this works. When you're studying or trying to learn something, your brain can get overloaded. Instead of pushing through and trying to force your brain to absorb more, take a step back, walk away for a few minutes, do something completely unrelated to what you're studying. And it could be as simple as sketching, solving a puzzle, or even just meditating for 5 minutes. What this does is clear the mental fatigue, reset your brain, and allow it to refresh. You can come back with a whole new perspective, and suddenly the information that was slipping through your fingers starts to make sense. But here's the kicker. Don't just keep grinding away at something that is not working. The worst thing that you can do is keep forcing it. If you're stuck, walk away, give your brain a break, and come back later with fresh eyes. And that's when the learning starts to stick. So you've seen all these techniques, but what if I told you there is an even faster way to transform your learning? So I've created a step-by-step 1-week study transformation plan that distills everything I've mentioned here and even more. You can download it for free. First link in the description. See you in the next video.